Literally the only vegan protein I have in the house is veggie dogs. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about some macro tracking tips, just ways to make it easier for yourself in the kitchen, how to prepare a meal when you don't have a lot on hand. I desperately need to go grocery shopping, so I figured this was a really good opportunity to cook something for you. So the first thing that I try to do when I'm thinking about putting together something to eat is what kind of flavors do I want? Do I want more of like Asian flavor? Do I want more spicy Mexican flavor? Something like that. Most of the time I'll tell you I gear towards Asian flavors. So I like to do stir fries a lot. So when I make my stir fry, kind of think about the ingredients that I have on hand. Like I said, I did not have a lot in my kitchen today. I did have some white rice, which I pre-prepped, and then that way I just have it for the rest of the week. And then I had some frozen veggies, so we'll show you how I prepare those as well. But the first thing you want to do, obviously, if you are tracking, you want to be keeping track of how much you're using of each ingredient. And a little hack that I stole is to keep a Post-it and a pen on hand, and then that way you don't actually have to be on your phone going back and forth between that, cooking, maybe your hands are dirty, that's a whole pain in the butt trying to turn your phone back on. So this keeps it really simple. You can just write down how much of everything that you're going to include, and then you can track it afterwards. So we'll get started. Shit. So I've got my scale ready. I've got a glass little measuring cup container here. I really just use this as a container. I don't actually use it for measurement, and I'll show you why kind of at the end. But that's going to be heated now. So I cook a couple of different ways. I don't actually use a lot of oil in my cooking. I try to keep my fats relatively under control, and especially if you're, maybe in a lower fat percentage, maybe like 50 grams or below, this is going to be something that's going to be super beneficial for you. So I'll actually cook with just some veggie broth instead of doing oil. Obviously you can do both if you want to, but this will keep it'll keep it from sticking to the pan. This is actually a non-stick pan, which is really awesome. I don't even have to put anything in it, but it helps with flavor too. And you can do this with you can use chicken stock or beef stock or like something else that you like. I don't eat meat, so this is something that I always have on hand. So we'll add a little bit to there, and then heat it up here. So I pretty much always have some sort of mix of frozen vegetables in my freezer. I buy a big bag of broccoli florets from Fry's in the frozen section, and then I try to keep some mixed veggies on hand as well. The broccoli is going to be super low calorie, super low carb. The mixed veggies will be just a little bit higher because there are corn and carrots in there, but I'm looking for a really kind of volume dense meal right now, so this is going to be really helpful for that. So when I'm adding ingredients, I do try to pay attention to what the nutrition label says as far as like what a serving size is, because I track most of the time based on that. So the first thing I'll do here is my nutrition label says this is 87 grams is going to be a serving size. So I've got my container here, and I'll go ahead and dump 87 grams. Oh, I'm a little off. That's okay. 99 grams into my cup here, and then just add it to my pot. Super easy. This is frozen, so this is going to release some moisture as well, again helping in not having to add too much oil or broth or whatever else to my pan. So that's the first thing. So you let those go for a little bit. I'll show you kind of the spices and stuff that I usually use too, but we'll just let those go. The second thing I'm going to add in here, I'm going to put my pot back on, is cauliflower rice. This is an absolute lifesaver, especially when your carbs are a little bit lower, or maybe you're trying to save up some carbs for later in your evening if you're going out to dinner. It is Saturday right now after all. So I already had this prepped ahead of time, so I'm just going to pour that out into my container here. And luckily I found a kind of basic entry for just cauliflower florets, and then that way I just measure it out as the florets instead of like riced cauliflower. I'm sure it's the same either way, but that's just the way that I do it. So I've got 103 grams here, 99 of that. So we'll go ahead and toss that in there. Mix it up. I don't know if this is helpful, but I pretty much always cook with a spatula. This spatula is like old as shit, but just keeps everything from sticking. Boom. All right, so those veggies are going. I'll leave that there. And then with my bigger veggies like broccoli, let's see here, I'll show you. These are like pretty big florets, so it's actually helpful, I think, to add a little bit of water to my container, and I'll actually microwave them for about a minute ahead of time, just to soften them up a little bit so I have a faster cooking time. Let's see here. So a serving size of broccoli, really any veggie, is going to be 85 grams. And I'm trying to be super specific for you all right now. Damn it. I'm going to get 85 grams. All right, there, close enough. 87. All right, so a serving size of broccoli is usually around, almost always around 85 grams. So this is what 85 grams looks like. You can see it's not a lot. Now for things like broccoli, that's not going to make or break like your macro bank for the day. If you overeat broccoli, that's the least of my concern. But just something to keep in mind for portion sizes, that 85 grams is actually a relatively small amount. So like I said, I like to nuke them a little bit ahead of time. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to add a little bit of water to my glass container, glass for the microwave, and I'm just going to throw those in there for about a minute. So something that I pretty much always have on hand that, again, I need to go grocery shopping desperately, so I actually don't have it today, is turmeric. I put turmeric in almost all of my food. It's anti-inflammatory. It has a lot of health benefits. If you check out nutritionfacts.org, they have a lot of information about turmeric on there and how beneficial it is for you. And the bottom line with things like spices is you really can't go wrong. You can't really go overboard with spices. Like I said, they're not going to make or break your macro bank, but they will provide some micronutrients. So what I'm using instead of the turmeric, because I don't have any, is just this curry powder. It is from Sprouts, it's organic, whatever. And it has coriander, turmeric, mustard seed, cumin, a bunch of other stuff in there. It smells awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in there. Like I said, I also really like to eat kind of Asian flavored dishes too, so this is kind of keeping in line with that. Then the other thing that I like to add is some oregano. Oregano has great immunity properties. I don't use obviously like a lot, but it's going to just make it a little bit more herbal. Super good. And then instead of using regular salt, a lot of times I'll actually use garlic salt, kind of 2 for 1. That way I don't have to use garlic and salt separately. And this a little bit goes a long way. So we'll throw that in there. And then lastly, black pepper. My husband, I'm notorious, I'll tell you, for under seasoning my food. So I'm going to be really good right now and pretend that I really season my food properly. But either way, all those spices, all they're going to provide for you is micronutrients. Like I said, so immune boosting stuff, anti-inflammatory stuff. There is plenty of research out there. Go to your Google machine. It won't lead you wrong. Let's see here. All right, so I softened up my broccoli a little bit here. Okay, so we'll dump that in there. And again, that's just going to add some more moisture to what I'm cooking. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those like gross people who like really likes to cook my veggies. Like I like them to be kind of mushy. If you're not like that, you can throw them in there for just a few minutes. Let them go till they're, you know, al dente, still a little bit crunchy. And you'll be good to go there. So that's kind of how I start with all of my veggies. Those are already cooking, we're ready to go. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I pre-prepped some rice. Like I said, I really need to go grocery shopping, so I didn't have a lot of food on hand, but I did have a container of white rice and I went ahead and cooked all of it. And so, the other thing that I forgot to mention about cauliflower rice that's super helpful is, number one, it's really cheap. I don't actually buy it as a bag of cauliflower rice. I buy it as a whole head of cauliflower, and I have a food processor, so I'll just chunk it off, you know, a couple pieces at a time, make as much as I want, and then I'll be done. And then once the cauliflower is kind of ready to go bad, I'll throw all of it in the food processor and rice the whole thing. It actually keeps a lot better that way. And then that way it can add a lot of volume to my food. So Like I said before, all of these veggies are going to be relatively low carb, low macro, so you're not making a huge dent in your day, but you are getting a lot of micronutrients. And then what's going to be nice too is when you do want to add starchier, more calorically dense carbohydrates like white rice. A serving of white rice for 100 grams is about 30 carbohydrates. It's going to help add volume to your food. So instead of eating 2 or 3 servings of rice, that might kind of blow your calories for the day or your carbohydrates for the day. This is a good way to bulk up your food without adding a lot of extra rice to it. So I'm going to portion out to make sure this thing's awake. 80. Oh my gosh. Almost, yeah, right. Oh, okay, whatever. It's 100 grams. I made it pretty much right on the money there. And then I'm just going to add this. I can leave that there. So at this point, what's really nice about doing stir fries like this is that the rest is kind of up to you. So this is a really basic amount of veggies. Like I said, I use the exact serving sizes for each of them. You can double up or triple up as you need to, especially with veggies, because again, you're not going to make a huge dent in your macros that way. And you can't really like do your micronutrients wrong. Anything extra that you get, you don't necessarily get bonus points for, but if you are getting a lot of those micronutrients, it's something that I'm like super obsessive about, like especially when I'm tracking on MyFitnessPal. I love seeing like my micronutrients look really great. So you can't really go wrong with a lot of veggies there. So like I said, from this point, it's really up to you. You can make it spicy and add jalapenos. You can add salsa to it. Like I said, I'm going to do more of like an Asian flavor. So I have like my favorite teriyaki sauce that I'll pour over it. I'll show you guys that in a minute. But then as far as like any meats or proteins, that is totally up to you. So what I would do if I had it on hand, because I don't right now, I love the Gardein beefless tips. Those are like my favorite. It's like 30 grams of protein for a serving, which is awesome. Or I love the Tofurky slow roasted chicken. I'll do another video about like all my favorite plant-based protein options. I think that would be really helpful. But since I don't have anything like that on hand right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this bowl of rice, veggies. Essentially, it's going to be kind of like fried rice. And then I'll have a nice big protein shake with it, since again, I don't have any normal proteins on hand. But this is a really easy way to just kind of throw some stuff together without really having to worry about what you have in your pantry. It's not super elaborate. It's not this, you know, super fancy meal, but it is going to be really tasty. You can spice it however you want, and your macros are going to stay super, super low. So I hope this was really helpful for you. I'll show you, I'll do like a screen grab of all the ingredients that I use, if that'll be helpful, and throw it in the video too. And then that way you guys can see exactly what these macros broke down to. I think that's all I got for right now. Blah, 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 blah.